add. So today we'll be talking about basic fire safety. At the end of this training, you should be able to list the classes of fire, know the elements of fire, know ways to prevent fire, techniques used to put or fight fire, common types of firefighting tools, and how to apply the acronym PASS to simple firefighting operation. Fire. Fire is good and fire is bad. It is good because it has been used over time to produce various products to cook our foods industrially and domestically. It is beneficial to man. But fire is bad because if it is not adequately controlled or managed, it can result into disaster. What is fire? Fire is known as a chemical reaction which takes place between three elements known as oxygen, heat, fuel. When these three elements combine together, it results into fire, which is a chemical reaction. If one of these is not present, fire cannot start. If you take away one of these from an active fire, the fire will go out. Fire is a rapid chemical reaction accompanied by evolution of heat and light. It can also be defined as a rapid combination of two or more substances resulting in the production of heat and light. Fire, in the other word, is called combustion. And together, the oxygen, heat, and fuel is known as the fire triangle. Quickly, we would look at the sources of this element of the fire triangle. Oxygen source. We already know that oxygen is already in the air wherever we go. So, normal air contains 21% oxygen and approximately 16% is required to start a fire. How about the heat source? Open flames like the sun, hot surfaces, sparks, arcs, friction, chemical reaction, electrical energy, compression of gases are all examples of heat sources. For the fuel, it comes in three forms: the gas, the liquid, and the solid. For our gas, it can be a natural gas, the propane, the butane, the hydrogen, the acetylene, carbon monoxide, etc., etc. For liquids, it can be gasoline, kerosene, alcohol, paint, or PMS known as premium motor sports. While for solid, it can be coal, wood, paper, clothes, leather, plastic, etc. So these are some examples of the sources of the triangle of fire. If you bring one or two or three of these sources together, it will result to a chemical combustion known as fire. And let's look at classification of fire. Fire is classified based on the type of fuel involved. That is to say, the type of fuel involved determines what type of fire is actually occurring or what type of fire you are encountering. It is classified based on A, B, C, D, and K, where Class A fire are from ordinary combustibles like wood, paper, clothes, trash, and any other ordinary material. Class B fires are from flammable liquids like our oil, like our grease, like our gasoline, like our premium motorsports. While Class C fire are known as electrical equipment, wiring, fuse or boxes, or electrical sparks. While Class D fire are fire that starts from combustible metals methyl alloys, and other methyls in the laboratory. While finally, class K fire are actually known as cooking fire, which starts from fuels like cooking media like vegetable oil or palm oil and other fats. When you can't prevent a fire, you contain or you put it out. One of the materials used in putting out and containing a fire is fire real hose. A fire real hose is connected to a steady water supply, which in the event of a fire is being released to put out the fire. The firefighting content of a fire real hose is the water. The fire blanket. The fire blanket is a material cloth-like that is being used mostly in kitchens to put out fire. We also have the fire bucket. The fire bucket usually contains sand, dry sand, which is being used to put out fire and is mostly used in fuel stations where they sell PMS or anywhere where there is a likelihood of fire from gasoline or from PMS. We also have the hose box. The hose box contains the hose which is being connected to a hydrant system that has a high pressure water as well. It is mostly used in the factory or even in communities that are connected to a steady source of power or the activity is very high and the tendency for fire to occur is very high. The fire alarm system. So this is a combination of different tools to ensure prompt or quick detection of fire so that an action can be taken to suppress or reduce it before it spreads. So it contains the smoke detector, it contains the alarm system, it also contains the horn or the speaker that gives a notification whenever the smoke alarm detects any traces of smoke for a particular amount of time. We also finally have the fire extinguishers. So the fire extinguishers are cylinders that have various types of contents from foam to powder to water in it that is being used to fight fire. So these are some of the firefighting equipment. So let's look at fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher is equipment regarded as one of the most common type of fire extinguishing equipment available in the society. It has a container which is cylindrical in shape to accommodate agent or the expellant or the firefighting content, and it also has a mechanism that uses a nozzle assembly where the agent will discharge from. It is made of aluminum or mild steel. Fire extinguisher is designed to extinguish fire at its incipient stage. So when you say incipient stage, it means the beginner stage. It is not used for a fire that has been large or that has spread over a wide area. It is the first line of defense should a fire break out. While portable extinguisher is easy to operate, intended operator needs proper training and technique. So basically, you should not use a fire extinguisher if you are not trained because you might be putting yourself in a harm's way. So these are the parts of a fire extinguisher as seen on the screen where we have the handle, which is also known as the valve assembly area. In some extinguishers, like the dry chemical powder, there has a pressure indicator which shows us the indicator level or the pressure level of the cylinder. We also have the cylinder, we also have the hose and the nozzle. So these components come together to make up the fire extinguisher. So let's look at types of fire extinguisher, the common types that we have out there. Water. This type of fire extinguisher is used on wood, paper, textile, and is not used on flammable liquid, neither is used on live electrical equipment. The content in it is water. We also have the dry chemical powder fire extinguisher, also known as the DCP. It is used on wood, paper, textile, flammable liquids, gaseous fire, live electrical equipment. It is mostly known as the multi-purpose fire extinguisher and is the most popular or the most used amongst the type of fire extinguisher because it has the capacity to fight more types of fire than other types of fire extinguisher. The foam, we also have the foam fire extinguisher, which its content is actually a foamy content, and it's used to fight fires from wood, paper, textile, flammable liquid, but you should not use them on live electrical equipment because it contains some element of water in it, and as such if you use it on an electrical fire there is a tendency for it to electrocute you while you are trying to put out the fire. We also have the CO2 fire extinguisher, which is mostly used on flammable liquid, suitable for live electrical equipment as well, but not used for wood, paper, textile, flammable metals, and fires because it has an element of oxygen in it. And we all know that oxygen is a part of fire in the sense that when it comes together with heat and fuel, a fire would occur. So definitely you don't use them on wood, paper, and textile, but you can actually use them for flammable liquids or live electrical equipment. We also have the wet chemical. The wet chemical is mostly used for fires from wood, paper, textile, etc. cooking fire. Basically, it takes over or around 5 seconds to 10 seconds to discharge a content of an average 9 kg fire extinguisher. So know that a fire extinguisher cannot put out big fire. It only works for incipient fires and it expels within a short period of time. So you do not have all the time in the world to use a fire extinguisher. So you have to use it judiciously. How do you or how can you operate or use a fire extinguisher? One of the simplest methods you can use is remembering the acronym PASS, which means pull the pin. So basically, for every fire extinguisher, we usually have a pin which safeguards it from accidental discharge. So before you can actually use a fire extinguisher, you need to first of all pull the pin. Then after pulling the pin, you need to hold your nozzle at the tip and aim at the base of the fire. So the base of the fire is actually the fuel burning. Is it a paper that is burning? Is it a wood that is burning? Is it anything burning that has to do with the fuel? That is where you will aim at, because if you do not aim at the fuel burning, the chances of you putting out the fire is actually low. Then after that, you need to push your nozzle after you aim at the base. So when you push the nozzle or squeeze the nozzle or squeeze the lever, it goes down or releases its content onto the fire. Then the next step is to swipe from side to side. So while you swiping from side to side is to ensure that your fire extinguisher covers every area within the incipient fire that needs to be contained so that the fire does not spread, because if you fight one part of the fire, the other part might pick up flames or pick up much later and spread to other places. So that is why you need to spread from side to side. Always remember to fight the fire at the base and not the flame. So there are actually three methods that is being used to put out a fire by these fire extinguishers. And even sometimes as individuals, we also use these three methods to put out a fire. The first one is called a starvation. In starvation, you are actually trying to ensure that you are removing the fuel source, in the sense that you are ensuring that whatever thing that is burning, you are taking it away from the heat. Okay, one example is our firewood. If you want to put out the firewood, there are actually two ways you can put out the firewood. One is by separating the firewood separating them so that they don't come together and form more heat, or by pouring water on them. So if you are actually separating them by putting the firewood in different places individually, then you're actually practicing starvation. The next one is smothering. Smothering is to ensure that oxygen do not have access to the fire. We know that oxygen is abundant in the air, but if you, for example, you are actually cooking and a fire comes up, if you use the lid of your pot to cover that fire from your pot, the fire will go off. And if it goes off, what you've successfully done there is called smothering. That is taking away the oxygen from the fire. Then the last one is known as starvation, which is trying to the last one is known as cooling, which is trying to take away the heat from the fire, the heat source. What is that thing that is actually making that fuel source to be very hot to generate the fire? Take it away. One example is by pouring water on any material that is burning. So when you pour water, it actually cools it down. So that is an example of starvation. So these are the three methods or ways that the fire extinguisher works, and these are the three methods or ways that you can actually use to put out a fire. When we talked about the fire triangle, we said these three elements, oxygen, heat, and fuel, come together to form a chemical combustion known as fire. Taking one of them away would put out the fire. You take the oxygen away through smothering, or you take the heat source away through cooling, or you take the fuel source away by starvation, the fire would go out. So how can you prevent a fire? Fire prevention and control. The best way to prevent a fire is to stop it from occurring. Do not bring the three sources or the three elements of fire together for the fire to start. Try as much as possible to practice good housekeeping, which ensures that you put everything in its place at the right time. Do not bring a fuel closer to a heat source. Do not bring a heat source closer to a fuel. Practicing good housekeeping will help you ensure that you actually prevent a fire. Other ways you can actually avoid fire is by switching off any electrical equipment that is left unattended while you are in the house or while you are going out of the house. Also, switch off gas and electrical cooling facilities that you have when you are going out or even when you are in the house, so that there is no form of spark. Also, store your liquids, your flammable liquids, properly. Also, label them properly as well, so that anybody will not go and use it for another case or use it for another purpose which might lead to fire. Also, ensure that you conduct regular maintenance on your electrical equipment and appliances in your house, so that you do not have any issues of spark that might lead to fire. Replace stray cables as well. Cables that are worn out or cables that are showing its inner part can actually lead to fire. Proper handling of candles. So candles are one of the major causes of fire all over the world. Please ensure that you handle your candle properly. Keep them in a proper area. Also ensure that children do not have access to them, so they don't play with it and start a fire. Be cautious with cooking. One of the major fire incidences in the homes is actually from the kitchen. So ensure that while you're cooking, you are also ensuring that you do not bring heat and fuel source together, and also ensure that you do not place any materials that can burn on a fuel source. Ensure to separate fuel from heat to prevent fire. Get at least fire extinguishers and fire blankets in your home and schools. Be comfortable using fire extinguishers, which involves, and ensure that you are familiar with them. Make sure you know where the closest fire extinguisher is, which is actually very important in an emergency situation. And you should also as well know what class of fire you are trying to fight, so that you do not go and use water fire extinguisher on electrical fire, which can lead to electrocution. Remember, being able to use a fire extinguisher correctly could save your life one day and also save the life of others. Thank you very much for listening to this content. If you find it very interesting, please subscribe, like, and share for more. Thank you.